Hey guys, this is Tacho here, and today I've got a couple of builds for you for the new Azura that came out on the New Year's banner. I'm not sure which one of her fan names you guys want to go with, because there's actually quite a few. A lot of people are calling her Fly Azura or Year Azura. Some people are even calling her NY Azura, which personally irks me the most since I'm actually from New York, so hearing NY Azura just automatically makes me think of New York Azura, and that's not good. So I would say my personal favorite name for her is just New Year's Azura. So I've got some builds for you guys today. So the first build is just a standard flying team support unit. Because she's the only flying dancer in the game, and because she comes with honed flyers right out the gates, she's a very good unit to run on the flyer team and just have her as a support for that team. So my recommended IVs for this build are going to be plus speed and minus HP. Plus speed is most likely her best boon overall. I mean, there's certain builds where you might want something else, but plus speed for the most part is definitely going to be her best boon. And I'm saying minus HP despite the fact that it gives minus 4. That's because we're going to try to keep her defenses as neutral as possible. Her neutral defense is 22 and her neutral res is 26. So it's workable. It's not the best, but after a buff from 4 to 5 flyers, you can work with those defenses. So it's not the worst thing, and I would try my best not to decrease that by any more. As for her weapon, we're going to keep Haguita Plus. And we're also going to give it the speed refinement on this build. There's a bunch of other refinements you can go with. If you wanted to give her the defense refinement, that one is pretty cool too, since it's going to bump her defense up to be on par with her res stat. So that's a pretty cool refinement, but I'm going to say the speed refinement here. Her assist is always going to be Sing on every single one of this builds. If you're not running this Azura as a singer for your team, then I have no idea why you'd even be running her in the first place. That's her main shtick for sure, and that's exactly why you want to be running her. As far as her special goes, she's got a couple of options. She's a little flexible in the special slot, but for the most part, we're just going to go with Iceberg on these builds. You can also run Moonbow as well. The main issue here is that her stats are kind of low overall, so there's not really much that she can do with skills that buff her damage based on what her stats are. So special attacks that work on the enemy stats, like Luna and Moonbow, that will affect how much stats the opponents have and decrease that, are pretty good for her. But her res stat is pretty passable, so having Iceberg does work quite well on her. So let's move on to her passive skills. In the A slot, I'm running Fury 3 on this build. Fury 3 is a very solid skill to run on her, since she's really going to appreciate the plus 3 to all her stats in the rare event that you actually need her to fight. Really what you want her for is just stat buffing your team and also dancing. So you're not really going to put her on the front lines very often. But in that rare chance that you need her to maybe take a hit from a Naui or take a hit from a Reinhardt, having Fury 3 is going to help her out a bit and give her plus 3 to everything. So that's definitely my suggested A slot for her. In the B slot, we're running Wings of Mercy 3. I'm sure this comes as a no-brainer to most people, seeing as how any dancer with Wings of Mercy 3 is going to work just fine. There's also other options you can run in the B slot, such as Flier Formation, which would be pretty cool on the Flyer team, but in my personal opinion, I think it actually makes more sense for her allies to have Flyer Formation rather than her, so that way they can jump to her and then she can dance on them directly. So that's my opinion on the Flyer Formation thing with her, but she could totally run that as well if you wanted to give it to her. And finally, in the C slot, we're running Honed Flyers, obviously because this is very hard to come by, and the fact that she gets it right off the bat is amazing on her, and it's going to be a really great support to have on the Flyer team. Finally, in the Sacred Seal slot, I'm suggesting Close Defense 3. The only other option I would suggest in this slot for her is Attack Ploy 3, but her res isn't really high enough to actually hit a lot of key targets with that. So we're going to stick with Close Defense 3 here. In the rare event that you need her to take a hit from a Naui, she's going to be really good at that, and due to her high speed, she's going to be able to double the opponents very easy with that. So that's pretty much it for the Flyer team support build. She's very good at buffing stats for her allies with Hone Flyers, and Hagoita is going to give a drive defense and a drive res as +2 to all allies within 2 spaces. So very nice supportive unit for the Flyer team. Okay, moving on to the next build that I have for you guys. This one is a tactic team supporter unit. She's going to be wanting to run on a team that has mainly infantry and armored units, because we're going to be making use of guidance on this build to have those units jump to her, and then with the ability to dance on them, she's going to be able to really support your armored units and get them where they need to be faster, and pretty much just downplay their one-range movement as a weakness as much as possible. So that's what we're going to be doing on this build. Yet again, her IV spread that I'm recommending is plus speed and minus HP. We're sticking with Hagoita plus, again with the speed refinement, since I just think it helps her the most. You could also run the defense refinement though, as I said earlier. Again, we're keeping Sing in the assist slot and Iceberg as the special, even though I did say Luna and Moonbow will work just fine for her if you want to run those. Fury 3, again, we're going to run in the passive A slot. Now, for the B slot, we're running Geyser Dance 2. That way, she can buff both defense and res by 4 when she dances on an ally. It is locked on Shigure, so it's not easy to come by Geyser Dance 2. But if you have a spare Shigure, I would say it's actually worth it to sack him into this Azura so that you can just provide even more support for this team. And in the event that you can't actually get Geyser Dance 2, you can still definitely make do with Earth Dance that she has. It's going to give +5 defense to whatever ally she dances on. So still a very solid skill. And finally, in the C slot, we're running Attack Tactic 3. This is locked on Siegbert, but it's definitely going to be the best idea to run it on Azura, since you don't really want her to fight, but you definitely want her on the tactic team so she can buff the stats of your infantry and armored units and get them all around where they need to be with Guidance 3 that I have in the Sacred Seal slot on this build. So that's my ideal build for a tactic team supportive Azura. She's going to be very good at buffing stats for your allies and getting them all over the place. And now for my very last build on this Azura. This one is going to be more of a combative build, so if you want to use your Azura to actually fight and deal some damage to the opponents, this might be the build that you want to look into. So this time around, the IVs are going to be plus attack and minus HP. Plus attack is going to be a little more desirable on this build since I have quick repost 3 in the B slot for her. So her speed stat doesn't really need to be buffed any higher. She's just going to be getting doubles just like that. I'm going to use Handbell Plus as her weapon, and I'm recommending the Res Refinement here. That's because I'm running Distant Counter on this build. So with the Res Refinement, she's going to be very good at taking on Reinhardt. Also Naui as well, because Res is going to be good against the breath weapons, and Naui is one of the most popular units in the arena right now. So with Handbell, with the Res Refinement, she's going to be awesome on the enemy phase at baiting these blue units, and because Handbell is giving +2 to all her stats when the foes initiate on her, it's just the perfect choice for a weapon. I know Handbell is also a seasonal weapon at that, so it might not be the easiest thing to come by. You can also run the Emerald Axe Plus in this slot if you wanted to. So that's definitely a cheaper and more cost-effective option. But I would say Handbell just barely edges it out. Again, we have Sing and Iceberg in the assist and special slots. Not too much to say about that. So Distant Counter and Quick Repost, like I mentioned earlier, is going to be the crux of this set, and it's going to allow her to bait Reinhardt along with other blue mages. Quick Repost 3 is going to allow her to get auto doubles on units like Naui and Lindy and Delthea and all those blue mages that you might run into, along with Reinhardt as well, of course. And finally, in the C slot, this is where she gets really flexible because there's really no right answer for the C slot on this build. It just depends on what team you're running her on. So maybe if you wanted to run this build on the Flyer team, you could stick with Hone Flyers. If you wanted to keep this build on a more versatile team with different movement types, you could go with Attack Tactic 3. Or if you're just going to run it on any random old team with a random assortment of units, then you can run anything really. Drive Speed, Drive Attack, Hone Attack even, Hone Speed, Fortify. Pretty much just whatever you want in the C slot, that's exactly what you can go with. Just make sure that it suits the team you're running in some way. And finally, in the Sacred Seal slot, we're running Distant Defense 3 on this build. Giving her +6 to defense and res with Distant Counter is going to make her very good at taking on ranged opponents, especially with Handbell giving her +2 when the foes initiate on her. So definitely a really nice combo there, and it's also going to allow her to take on select green mages as well. So units like Nino, possibly without buffs for Grand Blade, can be dealt with this Azura. And it's even better if you can get her on a defense tile where she's just going to decrease damage even more. So those are my builds for Azura for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let me know in the comments section down below what your favorite name for this character is. And the options are, of course, Year Azura, Fly Azura, and NY Azura, which is my personal least favorite, as I said already. I just take to calling her New Year's Azura. So yeah, guys, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed the builds, and as always, cheers, have a great day, and I'll catch you again in the next one.